Right now we're going to start out with Angela Santabarbara. Angela has been very active and proactive, I should say, on the autism front. It's so important, but tell me what this new legislation is.
Well, thank you for having me on the
Good
show.
to see you,
I really appreciate what a great way to open the show.
I know.
I want to make it a little better because, of course, my mother wanted to make sure I made this special delivery on the air, so she'll be watching. And this is our homemade tomato sauce that we do every year.
Oh my gosh.
We get together, the family.
And you can it too, huh?
Yeah, we
I freeze all of mine.
The whole process. We do the whole process.
Yeah.
Right through. And,
well, you know what this is going to be? This isn't going to go on the shelf for very long.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure we'll find some use for it.
You know, if I don't have pasta 3 or 4 times a week, it's not it's a bad week.
Well, as you said, it's been a great summer so far. A lot happening. Session has ended for this year. We'll see if we continue, if we'll be called back. But a lot of legislation that I work on is related to people with disabilities. That's my passion. That's what led me to the New York State Assembly.
Absolutely.
I
remember as an engineer doing his stuff.
I was talking to you when I was a civil engineer. That's right.
Civil engineer.
And I did that for 15 years, and that was my passion. But when my son was born, it changed my life. My son was born with autism, and it changed my life, and changed my life for the better. It put me in a new direction. I left that 15-year career to do advocacy for people with disabilities.
Yeah. And Michael is such a great kid.
My son has been on this. We've been on a journey together. He just walked across the stage this year at Shelmont to pick up his diploma. He gave me the thumbs up and walked across that stage, and I know he had me crying. I don't know if anyone else. I think there was some other people.
Very touching.
It was a very emotional moment for a lot of people.
Exactly.
And that speaks to what we're talking about. There's a lot of legislation at the Capitol. A lot of things that I've done over the years. And
you've expanded something in the law, haven't you?
Yeah, there's a number of different bills that we've worked on. The bill I believe you're referring to is including spina bifida into the services.
That's what my grandson has. So
yeah.
I know exactly what you're dealing with because it affects the mind as well.
Right. So there's a number of different disabilities. We want to make sure spina bifida is also included in what OPWDD provides services for.
Right.
There's a number of different treatments and things that get very expensive. And at one time, autism was not covered by insurance for that.
They
for that
really
matter.
didn't understand autism, and now we know the spectrum is like this. It
Exactly.
From here to there, and it was hard to diagnose.
And we're learning more and more about it. And on this journey with my son, he teaches me things every day. I mean, I learn from him. He is my angel. He keeps me going.
And he likes to
cook.
And
he loves to cook. He's found passion in cooking, so that he puts a lot of that sauce to good use. And he teaches me things. As I said, he teaches me things every day. And he reminds me, hey, Dad, there's things to fight for. There's good things in this world. Keep going, Dad. On good days and bad days, he's there. He's there to make sure. He inspires me. He really does. And I've had him. You've seen him on the show. You've been on my show at the Capitol.
Yeah, I know.
And part of this, though, after there's a legislation piece, but there's also a community piece. And a lot of the events that we're going to be talking about today are autism acceptance events, is what I call them. So at one time we talked about autism awareness. Now that has evolved into autism acceptance. So we don't want to keep that awareness out there, but we also want to work on fostering a community of acceptance and inclusion and the sensory-friendly events that you talked about.
It's important because I've gone to events, and the first time I kind of wonder what was going on because the kids are in there with these big ear, and they're not earmuffs, but they're, I don't know what they are, but they're
they block
like
out the
headphones.
sound. Yeah. So a lot of times, in my son experiences this, it's too much input. So the lights are too bright, the sound is too loud. There's just too much input. So what happens is families just don't go. They'll stay away.
But now, even like the bow tie theater, I don't know if it's still bow tie, but they were even having
sensory-friendly movies. Yeah. That's right. And I know the Armory has had a number of events, the dinosaurs, and
yes, they have.
A number of different events that they have also included a sensory-friendly day. Sienna Basketball. We do a yearly event with them where we do a sensory-friendly basketball game, and that's quite the experience.
How do you do that? I mean, because you're going, yeah.
Well, you walk in and it's really strangely quiet, and it's dark, and you don't hear the big horns, and you can just hear the sneakers on the hardwood.
Oh, okay.
But what that does is it opens it up for more people to attend it. And I talk to people there every year that they say they've never been able to go to a game, and now they're able to do it as a family. So how wonderful is that? And and I think it's just
an awareness
it
that
is.
We have to know that when you see a child or an adult, it could be an adult, with these things on it. The first time it was like, well, why are they doing that? And then, you know, it dawned on me, oh, it has to do with that. Now I'm understanding. So it's one of those things that we understand more.
Yeah, and it's about acceptance, understanding, inclusion. People do want to know, how do we help? How do we do this? And you know, we're offering those opportunities now, and we're seeing just more and more of it. And some of the events that I'm going to be hosting again this year.
I know the two that are coming up.
Yeah.
You already had one in Amsterdam at the Shuttleworth.
The Shuttleworth Park. So
Yeah.
we do the Autism Night at the baseball park, and these events are partnerships with the organizations, whether it's Amsterdam Mohawks, Via Aquarium.
Now let's talk about the one coming up, which is the Via Aquarium.
Yep.
That's on the 28th, I think it is.
That's right.
What will that involve? And I mean, like sensory. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't think there's no sharks there or anything.
No. So it's just a matter of having people on hand that can have direct people to sensory-friendly spaces. If there's sensory overload for whatever reason.
It's kind of a quiet
Yeah,
place
quiet
to begin
spaces.
with.
That's exactly what it is. There's quiet spaces made available. There's a sensory kit you receive at the door. It's a little tote bag, and in it has those headphones.
Okay.
It has some other sensory toys. You know, my son has fidget toys and things that he has to have while he's going through, and it's a calming. It helps
It's a
him stay.
common thing, yeah.
It relieves anxiety. It does a number of things. So there's a whole kit. They're able to receive at the door to be able to enjoy their experience, to open that up. And they open up the aquarium that day for families affected by disability. And it could be any disability, no charge. It opens
there's
up the
no
door.
charge either.
They can go
Do they
through.
still have the creatures at the beginning? You know, they used to have the
They do.
Yeah.
They do. Yes.
They're wonderful too. I love the
Yeah,
snakes
some of them.
and stuff.
Yeah, some of them are. You know, they're pretty interesting. Interesting displays they have in there.
The snakes are quiet.
They're quiet. Actually, the fish are pretty quiet.
Yeah,
too.
they are.
So you know the stingrays. You can pet the stingrays, and there's a number of different activities.
Yeah, you can actually lean over and
You can. Have you done that?
Oh yeah, I've done it. I've held the scorpions and everything.
I
So-
do it every time. I can't resist when I get there. But I'm looking forward to this, and the event is well attended from the very first one. We've had hundreds, and even in some cases more than 1,000 people show up from a very long distance to go to this event.
Because they haven't been able to do it otherwise.
They were very rare at the time. There's more now. We're seeing more now, but at the time there was not many that offered a sensory-friendly experience like that. But as our community's learning and how to be more accepting and inclusive, we're seeing more and more of these. People are just doing it on their own, because even if it's a business or something in the community, you want more people to come.
Exactly.
Now you've just expanded, all these families that normally couldn't go are now going to be able to attend if they want to. So that is going to be a great event. So we're looking forward to seeing people there. And thank you for advertising here on the show that we're going to have that. We want people to come, we want people to have a good time. We want to also show what it means to have a sensory-friendly offering like this.
Okay, now, I mean, and we're going to talk about the one in August coming up too, which is at Central Park, but
Yeah.
let's just briefly talk about what is autism, because I remember, we talked about the range, because the spectrum is like from minimal, to
Yeah.
like you have trouble, you don't want to be touched, anything touching your skin bothers you. I mean, so there's a number of issues that are. So maybe you could explain a little bit more.
It ranges, as you said. The reason they call it a spectrum is because there is different. You can be.
And they don't have everything, but they may have.
You could be anywhere on the spectrum. So my son has, he's somewhere, I would say somewhere mid-spectrum. He doesn't speak, so language is sometimes a barrier. My son also had to have physical therapy. Muscle development was an issue for him as well. But the occupational therapy, all these services that were meant to get him on track to be able to achieve his goals.
So he could walk across that
So
stage.
he can eventually walk across that stage. And look, he's 22, and it took him a long time to get there. So he didn't graduate when everyone else did. He had to stay a little longer. But the important thing
But he
is,
did it.
We did it. It's a journey, and it doesn't matter how long it takes. But the point is, you can achieve these goals. So you look at it. Everybody has different abilities, right? So don't even look at it as disabilities. Okay, my son has things he can do, and everybody that may have be on the spectrum, autism spectrum, may have things. We all have things we can't do.
Yeah.
But there's things that you can do.
Yeah.
And that's the point of these investments in these special education and the services that are provided today, is to find what the goals are and help people achieve those goals. Help them be a part of our community. Help
Exactly.
them. And when you talk to people with disabilities, anybody, what they will say, the number one thing is they want to be included. They want to be a part of the
They
basketball
want to
games.
be part. If you're in a
Yeah.
wheelchair, you want to be part. You want to be able to get there.
Being more accessible. Not on the list for today, but one of the things we were able to accomplish is one of the first sensory-friendly, all-inclusive parks in one of the schools in Amsterdam that does have swings for people with wheelchairs, that does have sensory-friendly grips, that is inclusive for everyone, even those with disabilities. It doesn't exclude anyone. So you see, these projects are coming around because people are understanding now, hey, we don't want to leave anybody out. And when you think about playgrounds, that's where relationships, are made.
Absolutely.
That's where friends, kids come together and make
But the
friends.
ones who design these playgrounds haven't probably been aware. So you're bringing it aware to them
Yes.
is going to help the inclusion.
And that's it. And that's when we started the show. Autism awareness it was for years and years. Autism awareness, and now that evolution to acceptance. Still keeping that awareness. We still keep that there. Take it one step further now.
Yeah.
Let's find out how we can be more inclusive.
Absolutely.
How can we get more of these playgrounds? How can we get more of these sensory-friendly events? How we can find career opportunities? And I have to give a shout out to the Gold Corporation, Price Chopper. They hire people with disabilities.
Yeah.
They've been doing it for years, but offering more of those opportunities where people can earn a paycheck. Just forget that they're disabled. What can people do? Look at ability,
Yeah.
and you find that they have ability where you can have a career track, and people
It
offer
may not
those.
be easy for them,
It may not be easy, but
they can do it. I mean, with help, they can do it.
just as my son walked across that stage, it is possible. With the right supports and services, people can achieve. Doesn't matter where you are on the spectrum. And I've met people all across the spectrum. I have a good friend of mine, Kerry Magro, who's he writes a book. He's a public speaker. We're looking to have him here at one of the bookstores. So I've met people from all across the spectrum doesn't matter where they are. There are things out there that we can do to help them achieve their goals.
Exactly.
And that's what I'm working on at the state capitol with legislation, but it's not just legislation. Of course, it's things in our community that we can do right now. We can all, your audience, all of us can do something to be more inclusive and more welcoming.
Yes. Thank you so much, Angelo, and thank you for the sauce. That's really
Thank you. Yeah, well, I look forward to
Thank
seeing
you.
what happens to
Thank
that.
Good.
All right, hi, Mom. I got to say hi to Mom. All right.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Thanks,
Really
and
appreciate
thanks
it.
for
Okay.
doing what you're
Thanks.
doing.
Always a pleasure
Love
to see you.
Okay.